Hey, Nudie Giants, Tracy Lounsbury here. I wanted to put this video out to go through my process as to how we show sequence of returns risk and how that sequence matters, not just your average. And so I get a lot of requests as to how we show that through the two different kind of softwares we use. One is Quanti and one is just an Excel spreadsheet. We'd like to make the Excel spreadsheet a little bit prettier, which we're working on, but right now it's designed to really just get the point across. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna show you guys Quanti first, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through how we use it. Okay, so this is Quanti. So Quanti is basically a software that you can run portfolio analysis and backtesting on. So in a nutshell, this is a real portfolio that we did a back test on. There was 73 positions in it. There was actually more. We had to cut some of them back because they didn't have as much history on them. And then we just basically equally distributed amongst the rest of the portfolio. So this is a $2.9 million portfolio here, which that doesn't matter at all in what we're trying to show. But basically what you do is you can go ahead and create the portfolio and you can add funds on here. So as an example, VOO. Okay, I can go ahead and I can add a Vanguard ETF on there, and then I can put how many shares are in there. And you want to put shares instead of dollar amount because the dollar amount is, they're going to fluctuate, right? So you're going to get a way more accurate representation based on if you can put a share in there, if you can find that, because sometimes statements are off and you'll be able to get real data the day that you print this out. So this is what they had. So obviously they had a killer in Apple. They had some pretty good returns. So from 2000 to 2022, this is actually saw a 7.85% average. The reason why you see this going back to 1999 is because the average doesn't get credited, obviously, until the next year. So that's just how the software works. So you have to go back actually one more year. So this is all we're looking for. We're just looking for picking the dates, and we're trying to see what those sequence of returns were throughout the history of time if something like 2000 to 2022 repeated itself, right? And you're even able to see risk on here. Basically, what's your biggest drawdowns during corrections we've had in the market? You can see income, you can see expenses. So these are expense ratios on their funds, which is not fun. But their overall expense ratio on the account's not too bad, 0.28%. How it's being allocated. So huge amount into large cap stock, and then pretty much no bonds, very little bonds. It's really just a stock portfolio. So this is really all we're looking for. So you can look at your total return and then you go to period, okay? Once you click on period, you make sure that it's on yearly, and then you hit this Excel. And this is going to download those returns in Excel, okay? And this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking this and I'm copying all of it, okay? And I am pasting it into our Excel document, which looks like this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I pasted it here. So what I'm showing the client in this scenario, I would use their specific number as far as how much they have in the portfolio, but just for easy numbers, we're using $1 million, okay? So in this, we're saying, hey, if you had $1 million and you wanted to withdraw 50,000 a year, you don't say 5%, because as the portfolio drops, 5% is going to be relative to how much money in there. But if you want 50 grand and you're used to drawing 50,000, then you probably need 50,000, right? So a flat 50,000, not taking any more of it with inflation into consideration. And what it's going to show me is you have the years, 2000 to 2022. You have the balance, and as time goes on, the balance obviously is going to go down or up based on performance. You have your return minus a fee equals your total return net of fee. You have your withdrawal column. You have the ending balance at the end of the year after you take the money out plus or minus your return. You have the percentage change in that account, which looks like it's not calculating negatives, but I don't really care about that anymore. And then it looks at your return needed to get back to where you were. Okay, this is the sequence of return column. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go all the way over to the S&P 500. Okay, so we use a couple different things. So we use the S&P versus their portfolio and kind of show them that. So this is the S&P total return. So the S&P 500 total return, here's your average down here, 6.01% during that time, which was it's not a great 22 years. Minus a fee, you're at 5.01. So in this one, if you had $1 million, drawn 50,000, you actually ran out of money in 2016. Okay. So then you have, what if I drew 40,000 out? Well, if you only drew 40,000, you would have been able to last all the way to 2022. We just like to show them just what that $10,000 difference could do for them. And then we look at an annuity. What if you only participate in 40% of the growth? Now you have the annuity where you get all the withdrawals, plus you have 537,000 left. Hope you guys are following along. Really, all we care about is this total overall benefit number. This is how much their portfolio is at the very end, plus how much they withdrew out. So this number plus this number equals this, okay? So your first column, you didn't even get your million out. Your second one, drawing 40 out, yeah, you got a little over $1 million left. 40%, let's say, into an annuity, only getting a 40% participation rate, and that's what you're at. But then this is the client portfolio that I was talking about. This is a real portfolio. This was their return. So this one averaged 8.86%. So it blew the S&P out of the water. Actually, this is a pretty good return over that 22-year period. Okay. Minus a fee, you're at 7.86. So in this portfolio, you're at 1.8 million. So let's see. You're still beating that 40% participation in an annuity. Okay, so this portfolio, as of right now, is top dog. But this is what we show people. We say, okay, well, you're averaging 8.86% minus a fee 7.86. Well, let me show you why an average means nothing. Because if I just removed all of those sequences as the portfolio goes up and down, and I just clicked on, let's just look at an average. Okay, so you get your 1% fee, 8.86, your net return of fee, 7.86%. This is how much money you'd have in there. Same average. You have your same average of 7.86% return. One of them just has a sequence to it, ups and downs and ups and downs. The other one is just averaging every single year, right? If I'm only taking 5% out of the original value, technically I'm getting a 2.86% return compounding every year, never having to worry about compounding. So that's pretty powerful to say that when you start taking money out, averages mean nothing, okay? And then you show them, well, what if you only got a 7% average? So I just remove the fee and just look at 7. Wow. So that's a lot of money. That's still way more, right? How about a 6%? Still way more. 2.6 million compared to 1.8 million. How about 5%? 2.15 million compared to 1.8 million. How about 4%? Oh, there we go. Finally, and you're within what? 40,000 bucks. 1.78 million compared to 1.822. So 45,000, 44 grand. So somebody out there is getting a 4% return. And I always go back to those old farmer, I think they're State Farm annuities. So State Farm had these 4% fixed annuities that were like for the rest of your life. We come across them a few times. And somebody has that at a true average of 4% a year. And this person has averaged 7.86. And they're pretty much right at the exact same amount. And then where it could even be worse, depending on if they withdrew more money out during the times that the market dipped, because let's say they needed it, right? Now all of a sudden you're going to see even bigger discrepancy there, right? Anytime money is being taken out of an account during a down year, that is when the annuity performs the best or gives the most value to the client. That's why you use qualified funds, because of required minimum distributions. You have to take money out even if you don't want to during down years. That's why you try to fund them with qualified assets. Doesn't mean you can't fund them with cash or Roth IRA money or whatever, but it's going to benefit you the most using qualified money, not you, but the client. So this is what we use. So yes, it's a spreadsheet. Yes, we have formulas built in this. Shout out, and I know I shouted him out before, but shout out to Zach Hosey, who kind of originally came up with different than this, but originally came up with the concept of formulating it, and then we've kind of just prettied it up, and I've changed things down the road, and he's changed things, and we have a bunch of different spreadsheets. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. We have a bunch of different spreadsheets that we've used to do different things. We've used index returns, index averages. We've used S&P 500 participation rates. We've used different client portfolios. We've used S&P 500 from 2003 and on. And you guys have to understand here too that we're using 2022, but it's a very different conversation when you use 2003 to 2022, because you don't have to worry about those 3 nasty years. But when you're in retirement, do I want to show you, the best 20 years or the worst 20 years, or kind of the average? And honestly, the S&P 500 over a 20-year period normally averages about 8%. Over a 10-year period, averages about 10%. So we're really showing kind of an average with somebody's portfolio like that. It doesn't necessarily, it's going to affect somebody's portfolio when you start out in 3 bad years or 2 bad years. It's going to affect it significantly. So you take those out and feel free to do the math on your own. Yeah, it's going to show it be a little bit more lopsided. But I will say this: the average still doesn't align when you're taking money out. We've looked at 10.5% portfolios and then compared that to averages, and it's like you only needed 7% or 7.5% average return. So that average doesn't matter what the numbers are. It doesn't mean anything, right? I don't care what you've averaged from the time where you were started investing to the time where you retired. I don't care what that average is. Okay. We care about moving forward. It's a completely different investment strategy moving forward when you're drawing money out. This is obviously big for people that want to draw money out. It's still a great visual for those that aren't drawing money out. You can remove the withdrawals, and that still is very powerful to have, something like a bond alternative there to put in your portfolio. So I hope that helped you guys. I know a lot of you guys requested me to do a video on it. So there we go. That's how we do it. There's definitely maybe a little bit more to it, but in a nutshell, that should help. Okay. God bless you guys.